The voting is over, the results are in. After millions of dollars and thousands of hours spent on the campaign trail, the Democratic presidential race hit its first primary election, New Hampshire, and the state has launched the careers of several presidents and dashed the hopes of many also-rans. Senator Bernie Sanders won the primary Tuesday night, with former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg not far behind, and an unexpectedly strong Senator Amy Klobuchar in third. Senator Elizabeth Warren and former Vice President Joe Biden finished a distant fourth and fifth, respectively. But today, we're going to look at 8 key takeaways from the New Hampshire primary and what it means going forward. 1. Endorsements matter. I have always maintained that endorsements don't really do much for campaigns, but boy, was I wrong this time around in New Hampshire. I am specifically referring to the endorsements Sanders received from Democratic Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, and Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. The endorsement of the 3 progressive freshman congresswomen gave Sanders an important boost that contributed to his New Hampshire victory. 2. Democratic Party is divided. Among the top 5 candidates in the New Hampshire Democratic primary, Sanders and Warren competed in the progressive lane, together getting just over 35% of the vote. Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Biden competed for the more moderate vote and together captured almost 53% of the vote. The remaining vote was split between candidates in the back of the pack. Bloomberg, spending record amounts of his multi-billion-dollar fortune on his campaign, wasn't on the ballot in Iowa and New Hampshire, but is campaigning and advertising heavily in Super Tuesday states. 3. Old-school low-tech voting is best. New Hampshire used paper ballots. The primary went off without a hitch, and results came in early. Quite a contrast to the failure of new technology used to tally votes in the Iowa caucuses. Apps and computers can be hacked and break down. That can't happen with good old-fashioned paper ballots. 4. Warren made a mistake picking a fight with Sanders. Warren was leading in polls in New Hampshire just a few weeks ago. Then she started a feud with Sanders, claiming he had told her in private that a female candidate couldn't defeat President Trump in the November election, a claim Sanders strongly denied. The feud appears to have cost Warren votes, exactly the opposite effect she likely expected. Warren's poor showing in New Hampshire is especially embarrassing for her because her home state of Massachusetts borders New Hampshire, and that should have given her a geographical advantage. Sanders is also from a neighboring state, Vermont. Number 5. Delegates count. In the New Hampshire primary, Sanders and Buttigieg each picked up 9 delegates to the Democratic National Convention, while Klobuchar picked up 6. No other Democratic picked up a single delegate. So while Sanders won slightly more popular votes, the contrast was a draw between him and Buttigieg in the delegate count. Number 6. There was no surge in voter turnout. Polling showed that New Hampshire Democratic voters are angry and want the Democratic Party to nominate a candidate who can defeat President Trump in November. But in Iowa and New Hampshire, we didn't see the record turnout for the Democratic caucuses and primaries that some had forecast. Democrats will need a strong turnout of anti-Trump voters to have a chance of defeating him in the general election. Number 7. Candidate debates matter. With the exception of Bloomberg, who hasn't yet qualified for a presidential candidate debate and wasn't on the ballot in Iowa and New Hampshire, candidates kept off the debate stage have fared poorly, and many dropped out before voting and nominating contests began. The televised debates give the candidates valuable exposure and boost their status as serious contenders. Klobuchar had a breakout performance at the Democratic debate last week, and that seems to have been a big factor that helped her vault past Biden and Warren in the New Hampshire primary. Number 8. Healthcare wins again. Healthcare is a winning issue for Democrats as President Trump and Republicans seek to constantly undo Obamacare and have no alternative plan. This is an issue that still is strongly resonating with voters. Polling shows that healthcare, followed by climate change, followed by the desire for a president who can unite our country, are the three biggest concerns of many voters. In New Hampshire, polls show 6 in 10 voters concerned about healthcare support a government-sponsored program like Medicare for All.